Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Grajdek. I'm Dr. Martha Grajdek. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. When you hear the word rituals, you may not think of the workplace as somewhere where rituals may exist, but in reality, workplace rituals not only exist and are part of many organizations, they are an important part of the daily experience. Let's start by talking about things that lead up to rituals. Let's start with habits. Habits are things or behaviors that we do automatically without having to give much thought to it or much planning to it, simply because we've done them over and over again. The power of repetition allows us to engage in habits without having to think too much about them. When we piece together a number of habits, we can call that a routine. So in other words, a set of habits could be seen as a routine. A routine is a set of behaviors that we do on a regular basis, perhaps at a set time or set place. When routines are given a meaning, especially a personal meaning, we can now call that a ritual. A simple way of differentiating between those three is that habits are about the what, routines are about the how, and rituals are about the why we do something. When it comes to the workplace, there is plenty of evidence of routines and habits. This may be true for your own experiences, but also for the experiences and the behaviors of those around you. But rituals at the workplace are just as important and are present as part of the daily experience, part of the company's culture, more often than people may realize. What are some examples of rituals related to the workplace? An organization, a company, may have rituals related to onboarding processes for new employees. Rituals may exist for people departing the company, such as when people retire after long time of service to the organization. Things such as recognition, formal recognition for somebody's success or promotion or valuable contribution to the organization, those are rituals as well. And even things such as team huddles, they can be seen as organizational rituals. So why are rituals at the workplace important? The big picture tells us that rituals bring people together. They provide a connection. But beyond that, they also have the power of signaling values. As I already mentioned, it is through rituals that people feel connected to one another. This is something that's done together, that's done regularly, that has a certain form and meaning. Rituals can provide a shared identity for individual employees within an organization, strengthening that feeling of connection, strengthening teams. And rituals are a great way to build stability. So not only can rituals build up a team's cohesion and reinforce company culture, it can also do things such as reduce stress within the organization. It can reduce stress among employees. Now that you have some understanding of what rituals are, what they look like, and why they're important within the workplace, we can talk about taking steps to creating rituals at work. And while rituals at the individual level can be very powerful and beneficial, it is when rituals exist at the organizational level that their power and benefit can really come through. And while it is up to the organization, its leaders and managers to create powerful rituals within that organization, each individual employee can equally contribute to creating and establishing important rituals. This is why open communications are so important at any company. If you work for an organization where rituals are lacking at the organizational level, it may behoove you to speak to a manager or someone in a leadership role about the benefits of rituals and what kind of rituals might be introduced at that company in order to reap benefits that rituals bring with them. And of course, keeping rituals at an individual level or even a small group level, small team level, can be tremendously beneficial to all that participate. So while I encourage individual employees to bring up the ideas of establishing and keeping rituals within the organization, a good way to introduce rituals to a company is to have some of your own. When it comes to establishing rituals within an organization, there are a few things that are important to remember. First and foremost, the frequency. Frequency of rituals does matter. Rituals that are performed infrequently, unreliably, or almost haphazardly are less likely to stick and less likely to provide the benefits that they could provide. Whereas rituals that happen on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, become part of the experience, part of the culture, and have a greater opportunity to contribute and benefit the organization and its employees. It's important that rituals focus on intention and inclusivity. There's no point in having rituals that have no intention, no purpose, no meaning. It's also important that rituals promote inclusivity. This is how we connect people within organizations. This is how we build that strong base of team and collaboration, a sense of belonging, a shared identity. And as I already mentioned, make sure that your rituals have meaning. Meaning can be achieved through symbolism or straightforward narrative. It's important that people understand the purpose of these rituals, the meaning of them, the intention of them, so that the rituals then have the opportunity and have the power to benefit everybody around. When workplace rituals are part of an organization, they can provide many benefits, not only for the company itself, but also for the employees within that company. They can certainly enhance the workplace culture and cohesion, but they can also lead to reduced stress and increased job satisfaction. Those in turn can lead to higher retention and better productivity. The list of benefits that can come from properly thought out and implemented workplace rituals is an extensive one. Whether you are in a leadership position or not, everyone has the opportunity to introduce rituals into their daily experience, and through conversation and collaboration, employers have the responsibility of bringing beneficial rituals to its work culture. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. Workplace rituals may not be discussed as often as perhaps they deserve to be discussed, but they come with many benefits. Behaviors can become habits, which can then turn into routines. But when we give meaning to the routines, that's when rituals can come into reality at a workplace. Rituals have the power of connecting people and bringing meaning to the workplace experience. From reducing stress to bringing stability to the workplace experience, organizational rituals can be a powerful tool for every level within the organization. Frequency, inclusivity, and symbolism are key to keep in mind when considering workplace rituals. Workplace rituals can be as beneficial and as important at the individual level as they are at the corporate level. They are definitely a conversation worth having and a topic worth exploring. As the week unfolds, I encourage you to consider habits, routines, and rituals within your workplace. What kind of personal, individual experiences do you have implementing those? And what kind of habits, routines, and rituals exist at the organizational level? And how can you contribute to making sure that you and your colleagues can benefit from workplace rituals? For those of you who experience the audio version of this podcast, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, Stress Free with Dr. G, where you can find the video version of the podcast. While you're there, check out some of the other videos. They focus on stress management. As I mentioned, Stress Free with Dr. G is found on YouTube, and the link for that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.